of this small marathon, I would say, which is going to be moderated by Jung. Basically, the idea was to conclude the exhibition with the curator's point of view, you know, and she's going to talk of how different cultures play a role in this whole reflection of art and sciences, you know. So it's going to be, the idea is to have an open session, so she's going to pose a couple of questions, but as I mentioned in the beginning, it should be open and everybody should participate in one way or the other. So now this is your time to finally bombard the artists with questions. Just go ahead. Okay, the floor is yours.
Okay. I hope everyone saw the show here. So we could talk more about the differences or similarity or common part of those two artists. I invited Yunchul and the Jan-Peter Sonntag. They all, as you know well, they all studied music, and they are also composers. So they have some kind of similar styles. And after that, the Jan-Peter Sonntag moved to the field which you saw in this kind of things, and the Yunchul in his way. So you see this, as to my point of view, I see the differences between those two artists. I mean, they all, even they started at the similar kind of point, but how they put into the works, they are certainly different. And I asked myself questions if that is also the cultural differences. You see the differences in their works. I mean, I feel that there's a difference between those two artists, not because they are two different artists, but they have a totally different cultural background too. So I want to ask first Philip. You have the eyes of the curator and theorist and the also philosopher. Do you see this kind of difference between those two artists? I mean, only you saw this exhibition, but do you notice?
You mean if I notice in the work like the differences where they come from, or the cultural
differences of this visible, if that is the visibility or distinguishability is that you could feel that?
No.
No, okay. Okay.
Can you?
Sure.
Yeah.
I'm not sure, but when I talked to the Peter Sonntag and I talked to the Yunchul, I certainly have a different discourse than which I saw this year. So maybe because of this background or this history that I had with those two artists, maybe that I feel more that there's certainly differences.
I mean, if I know about it, then I probably also would start like to try to see it and to discover it. And I also understand that it somehow makes sense. But if I wouldn't know and would go through the exhibition and would look at the works, I wouldn't see it, I think.
And I think that's very interesting because I think you just said that, and Peter said that also, that basically they have the same influences. That's the first point. The second point is that I think there is a process of erasure that takes place here in the framework of this exhibition. Yeah? So going beyond this, although you're very much right that the discourses have, there is a kind of a nuance in the discourses, but I think they go beyond these cultural things, these cultural influences. Although you can say Jan Peter is very much framed within this Western context, this Western context of sciences, you know, I would say. But I think Yunchul too, you know, Yunchul is framed within this Western context of this scientific monoculture. So I think the kind of to use Stuart Hall's words, a kind of erasure of identity and erasure of this cultural connotation, you know. So to answer your question, going around, I do not see.
I mean, it's perfect. I mean, for me, it is art is beyond everything, beyond the politic and beyond cultural backgrounds. But still, there is a certain facts that it's influenced your works.
Okay.
And the Yunchul said he grew up with a rock and roll, he grew up with the Western kind of culture. But still, I mean, when I talk to a certain different approach to the work than the Jan Peter does.
Okay.
So that is what I actually wanted to start with. So as you see the work in this room, in this space, you see the, did you know that there's a self-portrait of Yunchul, this one here? Everyone, so this is a self-portrait of the Yunchul himself. And
how
this
so? Can you explain that?
I'm sorry?
Can you explain that?
Maybe Yunchul explain better.
You have to read it.
So maybe
The world is changing.
I can explain. This is my self-portrait. I took my face with digital cameras, and you can open these images with word process. Then you can see all information. And I wrote down on the papers this handwritten information of my self-portrait. But sometimes I heard about some audience. They see these artworks, then they say auf Deutsch Bienenfleißigen Asiaten. Schon die sehen auch diese Nationalität.
Bienenfleißiges, ja.
Yeah. Of English. Very diligent.
Diligence.
It's just a button you press. It's not handmade.
That was really fast too. Because they never thought about which kind of people they did, but if they meet me,
Yeah.
then suddenly they have this kind of conventional thought. Maybe Asians, they really diligent to write something. So.
And what about you? I mean, with your portrait there, I mean, there's a bit.
It's a totally different work.
Yeah. Tell me more.
Yes. I don't want to talk about that work, but the idea was that we always choose similar topics. And this is a self-portrait, so I took a piece which is called Solo and plays with self-portrait, and it makes no sense now to explain the work, but it plays with totally different things. But the thing is, we choose works which in the form art or in the topic they're dealing with have a correspondence. And that was the idea, to bring it together and we to play with this invitation. And that why shouldn't we both do normally big installations, and now we do small things in a dialogue in a small space. So we have to deal with the cliche of this kind of gallery show, which is not common for us, even in this kind of art and science context. We always get offered a huge space to work in a laboratory, whatever installation, surroundings. And so we played a little bit with the things, because I think it's not normal for us even to play with this formats. And I would say this is really in the tradition of conceptual media work, and it has a long tradition to deal with this kind of decoding things, and this works in a different tradition with like more with hardware things. But I'd like to continue about the cliches, because this is what I want to think, that it's more...
Yeah. Basically, you know, what I see a difference. I see a difference, and it's in the finish, it's in the framing. And I saw your work at the Schering-Stiftung, which was so pristinely presented that, you know, you wouldn't see that from somebody who, you know, from a different background. And I've been to Korea a couple of times, and I always felt that there is such a sense of attention to detail. And you know, just look at the frame. and then go to the other room and look at the big canvas by Jan Peter. Where it's wired background. I'm pretty sure if you were to wire this thing, it would just look different, wouldn't it? And I think that it's in a gesture. And that's sort of maybe a cultural difference. I don't know.
But normally
maybe it's a personal.
normally in Korea, if you really see the traditional Korean stuff, then it's really love, not like Japanese porcelain or like Chinese, because we have we enjoy this kind of loose or some imperfection stuff. But I think this kind of make a frame, like really working with detail is I think it's more my personal.
Okay.
Also, it is made in Jung.
Talk about stereotypes.
Yes. I would say it's really a different reference. I really have a problem with all kind of rims. And I don't like to force in this direction that it looks like an artwork, because if it's printed that perfect, like the flowers behind you, I have really a problem to give more force to have even a more expansive rim around that. It's a question of taste. And so I like to show, I'm going to throw it away after the show. This is more a gesture, so something which is really perfect. The technical parts are always really precise, but not the rims. So I think, but about the cliche, the funny thing is if you see that kind of, when minimalism came up in the 60s and all the theory about minimalism, there was a message and even a theory about what you see, and you know that from the history, but it became a kind of style. The style, even Jeff Koons played that we all remember when he brought together this minimal aesthetic with pop art, which historically doesn't work before, because it's a totally different position in the art system. But now I would say it's like the same like in jazz, cool jazz. It's more geisha, it's more habitus, to be minimal. It's just a taste when you go through exhibition. People like to be reduced, minimal. I'm trying to talk about that in general. And only some people are interested in the ideas of continuing minimalism. So for some it's just a question of taste. And always when I see that reduced minimal works from people who look like they come from Asia, then the people always say, oh, it's authentic, because we Europeans think all people who look Asian are so reduced. It's our projection of Zen, Buddhism, all the idea we have about Asia. It's totally authentic that an Asian people is doing just a line. When you see, like the person looks like me, then you say, oh, it's a conceptual artwork. Because he is conceptual in the Western culture, and the other one is authentic in his whatever. This are just cliches. But we always know that cliches. We think it's based in the culture, which, you know, Asia is so big, we can't. But for European people, I see a lot of minimal works from Asian people, and we always think, oh, it's based in that tradition, not knowing anything about the tradition.
But if you take the case of Korea back, that the fact that I mean, I wouldn't necessarily want to reference any Western artists. We're very much aware of the movement in the 50s and the 60s in Korea. These monochromatic works that were done, from paintings to sculptural works. You know, so I think it's also legitimate to reference that to Korea, for example.
I think this exhibition for me was really stimulating. I got to meet the creator and the artists on the whole mountain, and also the people coming here without no clue of what was going on. And they had this tour through the pieces. And they say, how many artists are there? And say, it's 2 artists. I say, oh, and they say, I thought it was only 1 artist. I say, no, that's the whole point. That's the whole point of the curatorial installation. And they were always asking about this piece and this piece, because they got this sense of curiosity. They saw all of them so apart from themselves. And with this piece, I'm related to this kind of patterns. I knew before that how you get this the printing machine, when you put the image in a notepad, and you get this pattern of characters. And I didn't know before that it was hand Britain. That was
Yeah.
my point. And I noticed that like 1 week later when I got closer to the piece. And I was explaining to the people how it works because I'm related, and I said myself how it is. They said, so this is an image? I said, yes, and it's a self-portrait. And I was like, and then they go to other place. So it was really interesting. And then they wanted to know who was the other one. Like when at the point I put them in this position when they knew there was 2 different artists from 2 different countries, they make a lot of effort to make to see the difference. They put it, but at the beginning they just got it and they enjoy it and they feel curious and then they have this stimulation.
Actually, I have a ambivalent feeling of that. That on one hand, I see that these differences, but at the other hand, I see that all coming to melt it down at certain points. So that is also interesting to see this in the next room. Here you see the sound piece from the Sonntag. At a certain point in that room, you see the sound clearly. So I react more. I try to find the sound where it comes to the sounds, where I get the sounds clearly. And I go to the next room, or passage, and I see the work from the Yunchul which react itself too. So now I see. I asked myself, what is the difference between the Yunchul's approach to his work and the Jan Peter's approach to his work? So, I mean, to my point of view, he let it play, he let it people into it, and the Yunchul works to me that I more concentrate on what's going on there. So it's object itself. So somehow it's different kind of gesture which I feel it. So I wanted to also show that in that kind of sense. So I'm not sure about the Yunchul and the Jan Peter Sonntag also aware of that. So I mean, your approach to the sound piece, I also showed your work in Korea which I the gamma web, which you saw in the invitation, that I know that people partly felt really uncomfortable with that piece. Although it looks really beautiful, and he said that when you are in there, you see the light. So somehow the visitors being part of it, and they feel all the things. When I look at also I had one more show with the Yunchul in another museum in Korea. So in that for the show, I more observed his works, and I saw that the part of his space was kind of laboratory, that people could watch and people see how the process is going on. So somehow it's all different. So also what I found is there are those differences I've experienced to be to artists, but at the other hand, they also have a performative element, physical element. So when you go in there, you're looking for sounds, and when you see the work from the Yunchul, you see the sounds, and you hear the sounds, and you see all the movements. So there's a certain point that there's a differences, and also there is a certain point which are similar. So what do you think about this physical performative element in your work? Is that specific about the media art, or is that just that your works like nothing got to do with the media art? I mean, you don't really do that with a painting or sculpture, that you see there and you hear something, or you move around if you look at the work and the painting. So is this kind of performative element is also interesting for you, or got to do with the media art?
Yes, let's answer from 2 positions. On the one hand, I think the difference I see, and hopefully you can't see it in this show, because we work with this concept as we mentioned before, but I would say, maybe you can correct me, the works I've seen of you in the exhibitions, you work really on the wall, and a lot of with objects, or a lot of with tables, with settings. So it's something which is for me really like an object which in a way change the space, but it's object oriented. All the things I've seen from you now, and maybe a difference is what you can't see here, that 90% of my work are this kind of all over installation. So you enter a space and you're in a special perception situation. So all my early pieces are just about space perception. With light and sound, you walk through standing waves. And this has not so much to do in my work with my position as a performer or even my work as a performer. It was more the basic idea that I started basically about perceptual spaces. So I wanted to restart at a point where the 60s ended. This was a reaction in the late 80s to the main discourse, which was about painting, and in that time it started with a kind of new approach to works in public places. So a lot of the discourse was about neo-conceptualism and this kind of what then later was called interventive strategies, so that you created sculptures which are not visible or only visible for a few people who know. So this maybe remember this discourse from the then late early 90s. And the other thing were the painters, the big comeback of painters. When I studied Clemente, Chia, all that, even Polke were reinvented, and there was a big time of bringing together post-structuralism, French philosophy, together with the possibility to go back into material and play with the old formats. And I hated that, because just I was young. That was the only reason. I hated this geisha, I hated this kind of artist, so I always wear a suit, and I like more to continue where this modernity ends. For me, minimalism and conceptualism was a kind of end of heroic modernism, and I always dreamed to become this kind of lost heroic modernist. So I like Stockhausen, I like, because they failed. I like even the tragedy about that. But I like that they really believe we create. When Stockhausen was asked, do you do music, actual music? He said, no, I'm doing music for the future. It's an approach from Schoenberg. You will need 100 years to understand my work. And this is totally strange, but they really believed in that. And even you can see Bruce Nauman in the same way. And this kind of heroic, there is something that we can have a certain level of perception, and we can even deal with bombing the work, the idea of a fixed work into a process. And I wrote about that. Yes, you enter my exhibition, and while you go through it, you experience something, and this is the idea of sculpture, because everything I put in the space are just instruments which allow me to make Verortung. And I really like German words for that. Raum always small because we have a different word. We have only one word for space and room. And so we have always the Euclidean implication in what we call chamber. So, and through that, to create new sensation, really simple. You need new technology, new theories. You have to change something, because this is really old avant-garde view. To develop something which was not there just to create a new experience of space. And pressure waves was my first thing, to make architectures out of pressure waves. And through that I can say, basically, this is just playing with historical symbols, because in the beginning of the 90s, I hated everything for the wall. I made always jokes about wall pieces, sellable art, shitty objects. It's really like, wow, you can't do that. I'm someone who's entering a museum, and I'm doing the setup, and I take all my stuff back, and you just have to pay me for doing the show, giving you this experience space. I wouldn't believe in that, but from this approach I have problems with rims. It's a historical thing. I don't like this. This is really ironic. If I would use it, it would be an ironic gesture for me, because this painters are doing it. I would just need, it's playing with my own history, because now I play with all this conservative, when I was young, conservative formats.
I don't know, it's about if that is something like or not, you not like about, or old-fashioned or not a new fashion. You often talk about new, but to my point of view, there's nothing new is always all the time composing. So I think what I so often, what I experience is that it's more composing than making or making new or creative in different sense. I will say that. So I wanted to also know from the Yunchul how you deal with this kind of, yes, he said what he likes about or what he brings into his point of view, and I would like to know that how you see, through your work, that how things put into your work.
How?
Yeah, I mean, that's the basic idea. I mean, when I say your work is more objective rather than installation. I mean, I saw your pieces or objective, so it could work in different spaces. I mean, with his space, he really deals with his space, so there's certain different approach to media art and
Yeah, it's not easy to explain, but for me, if normally I have really clear what is the border as a musical and as an artist. And I really enjoy this kind of two worlds. Sometimes I don't want to mix together. Because if I compose music, then I really compose like an old traditional composer. I also load a note, or sometimes I play just without any visual, just in black dark room, and I play my music. Also sometimes I'm working like this kind of traditional kind of presentation forms. But I don't have any special, kind of belief that some art piece with a frame is some old piece, or art piece without a frame it means new, because it depends on your concept behind of the piece. Also, therefore, sometimes also I always ask, we say always new, this kind of belief, what is new and new system and new kind of art and something like this, but we still use kind of chopstick or record or ladder. It doesn't, we cannot make new kind of some system to it. Maybe we have some other stuff, but therefore, because the art piece is very conceptual, but it depends on our bodies. Therefore, I need sometimes the kind of this kind of frame. Sometimes I really hang on my drawings without frames, but it is just kind of about talking about the form. I don't want to talk about the forms of which kind of media or which kind of artist presentation or something like that. The important is still what in the art is what is the thing, or what is the purpose, not purpose, also what is the behind of this piece. Therefore, for me it's totally, I don't care about which kind of medium or something like this. Therefore, we talk about the art and science. So, but I like this word in German, Wissenschaft. It means the science, schafft Wissen. They create the knowledge. But art doesn't create the knowledge. It makes our experience also with our sense. Not only just with a think or so. Therefore, for me, people want to always categorize. You are a media artist and you make some music or something like that. But I really don't care whether people categorize which I'm doing. But for me, it's important is for me my thought going on with some new medium, or sometimes I use really like old papers. Therefore, for me, it's not important to categorize something.
I wanted to ask Philip that we heard about the artists specifically think about your certain pieces or certain attitude, and your point of view, is there media art and then this kind of cultural differences somehow play a role in the work or that it more goes apart or put into the one more they melted together.
Well, I mean, like we see there are all kinds of media used, no? So it looks pretty much like contemporary art, like, you know. All videos are used, installations are done, prints, paintings, drawings.
Yeah, actually, when I go to Transmedia, I see a different type of folks. I mean, there's a different type of visitors. They go to the gallery or to the Transmedia. So there's certain different visitors for the different art, which I found it really a shame that people will go to the so-called classical art, painting, sculpture, installation, whatever, and media art is somehow kind of.
Yeah, but you find this too also in the art, no? You also find in the artwork, you also like in the the commercial, professional artwork, you find also media art, and I mean, I would disagree and would say that art, and that's different to like this kind of like media art Siberia. That like the artwork is very much about knowledge production. I think the difference.
Science.
But the difference is, I think, that it's not yet clear whether or not this knowledge which is produced in the artwork is useful or not.
I
But
mean,
like so much, like, I mean, like also like our discussion now, like we're discussing about the things, so we're producing constantly knowledge, like we're looking at things, talking to each other, what does it mean, what do you see in it, so we produce like really like this excess of knowledge actually. There's so many books written about, theories written about.
yes, I'm
Students
sure, but
produce, professors
I
produce.
mean that the kind of form. I mean, I don't mention about the content, about the forms of how artists present its works, also how science they present it.
But the idea of producing surplus knowledge or irrelevant stuff is just in all fields, in the science laboratories. There is so much useless stuff that is done. I remember back in the days when I used to work for Nestle, there's so many experiments and stuff that you just get into the cupboard and never come out. So massive production. So it's the same thing in the, I would say, in the art.
I actually talked to a friend last week. She works for the Bauhaus University, and what they do is they go like into like these laboratories where like they make like all these kinds of experiments, which are really functioning basically like modern art, because it's completely useless basically for them. They're like doing like all like this stuff, which is until it is done there, like really la polar in a way. The only difference to modern art is that there is no exhibition space where people look at it, but then they really don't know what to do. And what they basically do is like they try like to find then like kind of like uses for like their invention. But like the scientists themselves, they like just working like on one little thing and have no idea what's coming out of it.
I wanted to share an anecdote and then get back to the question to you, Yunchul. And the question is about referencing. I mentioned it a bit earlier, but about the tendency of always referencing to what we see in the West. So specific artists. Because we've talked about Cage, we've talked about Riley and all these people that we all know about. But there is also the tendency of being completely lazy, which is our tendency to just reference to what we know, and not going beyond to research into different societies. So I want to come back to the point of culture and share an anecdote. So if you see an artist that comes from for example, from Mali, and is working in the field between arts and sciences or whatever, and is working on astronomy or whatever, you know. So of course, the first thing you would think is Western production of knowledge related to astronomy. But if you go a step further and do a bit of research in the society, you would see that, for example, and it's an example I always give, that the Dogon, even long before the realization of the series A and B, the Dogon had this in their culture. So they have festivals that are done every 50 years, and that references the movement of the series B around series R, which it needs 50 years to do a complete cycle. You know, so coming now to the question, so is there something in Korean art history
Yes.
that you reference to that we don't see? You know, because it's very easy for me to relate your works to some artists from the West in the 60s or the 70s. It's very easy, you know. But I think it's also interesting to go beyond that. Yeah.
Sure, because we always give some reference, some famous 70 or 80 artists or some avant-garde or something like this. But for me, it's also very important. It's almost like a Korean poet of all times. Also, I love also. In Korea, they also will have our own science. So yes, therefore I read also old books like astronomy, like Dogon. This kind of mysterious. We don't know how they realize this kind of observation the skies. Therefore, I read this kind of stuff. Normally I have more root on these cultures, but I'm living here as an artist and also musical here in Germany. Then I'm grown up with really many Western cultures. But if you go to Korea, they look like a really modern city, but they are living still traditional ways. We have still big family cultures, like we are living with Oma and Oppa and killers, and therefore we are changed or medium or something like that, but still we have this kind of emotions or think of ways to perceive. Therefore, I think my perception is maybe different, like German or some Europeans. But the art is kind of form that I can express my own stuff for other people's. But I think this cultural differences for me is very, very important. Because I love Korean music or traditional Korean music. Just it is not popular here, therefore I cannot give some differences. But there are really a lot of good stuff that I have also I can really enjoy, like Western music or Western art.
So with the last words from Yunchul, we'd like to maybe further after this discussion you could ask the artist. But we would like now we close up our discussion. So after the talk, just please feel to join the bar and have some drinks and ask more and dig the artist more deeper.
That's all from my side. Thank you very much for coming and for having the stamina to go through the whole evening. And thanks to all the savvy people that did a lot of work to realize this exhibition. You know, Saskia, Maria, Ismael, Martina, all of them that, a lot of energy. So thank you all for this.